If bed leveling and Z offset feel confusing, stressful, or like something you're constantly adjusting, this video is for you. Most beginners aren't actually bad at bed leveling, they're just mixing up bed leveling and Z offset. Today, I'm going to explain what bed leveling really is, how Z offset fits into it, and how to stop readjusting your printer every time something goes wrong. This is the final video in my beginner 3D printing basics series, where I break things down so you can print more and troubleshoot less. So let's get into it. So let's clear up the biggest misunderstanding right away when it comes to what bed leveling is. Bed leveling is not leveling your bed so that it's perfectly level to the floor. What it means is to make sure that the nozzle is the same distance to the bed at every point on the plate. And what you have to remember here is that consistency is a lot better than perfection. You may not get it to be perfect with each different filament that you use, but as long as you're getting a consistent and predictable print, then that's really what matters. And once your bed is consistent, you usually don't have to touch it again for a while unless you move your machine or do something really major. And now let's talk about Z offset because this is where most beginners get stuck. And I really didn't understand this for the longest time. And I just kept avoiding it altogether, taking some bad first layers, hoping that at some point it would just work itself out. Z offset controls how close the nozzle is to the print bed after the printer is homed. So bed leveling gives you even distance across the bed, whereas Z offset is your overall height of the nozzle. So think of it as this: bed leveling is like making your table flat, and Z offset is like how high your hand is sitting above that table, if that makes it make it any more sense for you. So the key to reducing stress is knowing when you're having a bed leveling or a Z offset issue. If your first layer looks bad everywhere, your lines are spaced out or too squished so that you're getting actual bumps within your filament, or your print won't stick across the bed, these are signs of issues with your Z offset. Maybe it's a bed leveling issue, perhaps if some areas are looking good, but others are not. One corner sticks, but another doesn't. That could also, again, be a dirty build plate. So the easiest way to remember this is if the problem is everywhere, then it's probably an issue with your Z offset. And if it's just a spotty problem, then it's likely a bed leveling issue. So the first thing that you have to do before touching your Z offset is you have to make sure that the bed is reasonably level. Once you have gone through the leveling, then you can set your Z offset. If you have to manually level your printer, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. I can only help you if you go with the bamboo printers because those are the ones that I have the most experience with. Once you get your bed leveled through calibrating your machine, then what you're going to do is you're going to do a first layer test. And this is a print that will cover your whole build plate for as much as possible so that you can see exactly where some problems might lie on your plate. When you start the first layer test, watch the first few lines and see how it goes. If you have a printer that you can adjust Z offset, again, manually while it's printing, then you can do it at that point. Otherwise, let the whole first layer test go. It uses a very small amount of filament, less than 30 minutes of time. It's worth it to see the whole bed get done. And then what you're going to do is you're going to adjust your Z offset afterwards. What you're looking for are gaps between the lines and poor adhesion if your Z offset is too high, or if it's too low, you're going to have a scraped or rough surface. You're going to be able to even hear your nozzle dragging along the filament as it's going. When your Z offset is just right, your lines are going to touch edge to edge. There'll be a slight squish and it's going to have a really smooth appearance. Keep in mind that when you're adjusting your Z offset, you want to do it by really, really small amounts. So 0.01 or 0.02 at a time, so that you're really being able to fine tune this and know where the problem lies and how you can keep your settings going forward. Let's quickly discuss where you can go in to adjust the Z offset within Bamboo Studio. So you have to actually go into the settings for the printer and go to the G code itself. In that top box, scroll all the way down to the bottom. This is the easiest way to find it. And then go back up just a little bit until you see the line that says G29.1, and the numbers just after the slash there are your Z offset. So this actually started out at minus 0.002. It's probably standard for everyone, and I had already adjusted mine a little bit as I was trying to play around with it. And now I decided to go up to the positive end and see how it worked out. Keep in mind that the more negative you go, the nozzle will move closer to the bed, and the higher you go towards the positive numbers, the nozzle will move a little bit further away from the bed. Once it looks good, you want to save that offset so that you can always go back quickly to that one whenever you're sending future prints to your printer. My first layer on one of my printers was actually so bad that I even had to go in and change the flow ratio. And that was where you saw the bumps that I was getting in that first layer. That's because the flow was coming out too fast and it was bunching up coming out of the nozzle, leading to those bumps on the plate. Once I lowered that flow ratio, and again, I saved the setting, it was perfect. And you can see the difference here in the two first layer tests. So this one, there's a bed leveling issue in the one area. The lines have gaps. It is really not a good look. And then once I got it calibrated properly with the flow rate and the Z offset, it was perfect and smooth. What are some common beginner mistakes that people are going to make? First, a lot of people will re-level instead of really getting down into the nitty-gritty of their Z offset. They will adjust both at the same time so that they don't actually know which one solved the problem. They'll make big changes instead of small ones, like I said, going 0.01, 0.02 up or down at a time. And they will keep chasing perfect looking layers that they might never achieve. These are all habits that can cause a lot of frustration for people, understandably so. But if you keep changing everything or multiple things at once, you're never going to know what actually helped to solve your problem or make your problem a little bit better. Here's what I'm going to call the stop touching it rule. Do your lines touch everywhere? Is your print adhering to the bed nicely everywhere? Does your print stay put? And when you take it off the plate, does that first layer look nice and clean on the bottom? If yes, then stop adjusting and just let it print. Bed leveling and Z offset don't need to be stressful. Once they're set, they usually stay set. You may have to figure out different Z offset settings for different filaments, something that's more abrasive or less abrasive. But once you have it, you know that setting for all your future prints. Drop a comment below and tell me whether Z offset has been confusing for you. Like I said, it was very confusing for me in the beginning, and it took me a really long time before I got down into looking at how to make that first layer look really nice. If you've been following along in the beginner series, thank you so much for watching. Drop a like and make sure that you subscribe so that you will continue to be notified about all of my business building videos, as that is predominantly what I talk about here on this channel. I want to use my knowledge of creating a six-figure bakery from home that I'm now using to create our home 3D printing business and pass that information along to you so that you can also build a successful business. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy printing!